Hello everyone. Today we are starting with the second chapter of history, that is the new kings and kingdoms. The early medieval period from 7th century to 12th century AD was a period of emergence of new dynasties in different parts of the Indian subcontinent. All these dynasties have a desire to build empires. Therefore, they continuously fought with each other to gain control over more land and increase their wealth. Harsha, also known as Harshvardhana from Vardhana dynasty, was an Indian empire who ruled North India from 606 to 647 CE. Harshvardhana united the kingdoms of Kanauj with his kingdom and he made Kanauj as its capital. Then he captured Bihar, Bengal and Orissa. Harsha's capital city Kanauj extended from 6 to 8 kilometers along with the river Ganga. King Harshvardhana's death in 647 CE was followed by gradual breakup of his vast kingdom between 8th century to 12th century. After the decline of Vardhana dynasty, many numerous kingdoms started emerging in India. These kingdoms brought numerous changes in the country. Tripartite struggle for Kanauj. All the ruling dynasties of the early medieval period have their own areas of influence, but they often try to control more areas for wealth. Kanauj was an important region as it was strategically located on the banks of Ganga river in Uttar Pradesh. The kingdom of Pallas, the Gujra Pratiharas and the Rashtrakutas fought with each other for Kanauj. Their struggle for Kanauj was termed as tripartite struggle, as three kingdoms were involved and fought for more than 200 years from 7th century to 9th century. Why was there such kind of warfare and fight amongst kingdoms? All the kingdoms of that time wanted to demonstrate their power and wealth beyond their own kingdoms and also to increase their wealth. To conquer the northern and central part of India, capturing of Kanauj was very important. Gujra Pratihara. They were local officials who actually carved out the kingdom in western India, that is Gujarat and Rajasthan. The Pratihara came into prominence when their king Nagbata I, 730 to 756 AD, defended western India from the Arab invaders from Sindh to Rajasthan. He was known for his repeated battle against Arab rulers. Bhoja I was the greatest ruler of this dynasty. He rebuilt the empire and again conquered the Kanauj, which remained the Pratihara's capital. Rashtrakutas. In the primary stage, they were the subordinate of Chalukyas of Karnataka. In the mid of 8th century, Dante Durga, the founder of this kingdom, overthrew Chalukya dynasty and took over the regions of this kingdom. The territories of Rashtrakutas reached its height under their able ruler Amogha The term Rashtrakuta means a designated officer in charge of a territorial division called Rashtrakuta, that is Rashtra. Later, they expanded their kingdom towards south and southwest part of India. The Palas. The Pala dynasty was founded by the king Gopala with its capital at Patliputra. He started as a ruler of a tiny place called Pundravardhana and dominated eastern northern India till the mid of 9th century. The greatest ruler of Pala dynasty was Devpala. Some Tibetan accounts tell us that Pala followed Buddhism. The Pala also have trade links with Southeast Asia. Devpala was the last Pala ruler of Pala dynasty. Their kingdom extended from Assam to the parts of Orissa and parts of Nepal. But after his death, the Pala dynasty began to decline. Now, let's talk about the consequence or outcomes of tripartite struggle. The infighting between the Chola, Gujra Pratihara and Pallas weakened all these three dynasties. The kingdom that were under their control became independent and emerged as new kingdom. The riches of Kanauj ultimately diminished all the three powers that were involved during those periods. The Pratihara emerged victorious and established themselves as the ruler of the central India. But by that time they became very weak, and this weakness advantaged to the Afghan king Mahmud Ghazni. Mahmud Ghazni conquered western Indian territories of Gujarat Pratihara. Because of the lack of unity amongst the kingdom, gave the Turks an opportunity to invade India and laid the foundation of Delhi Sultanate in our country. Now, let's talk about administration. Many of these new kings adopted high-sounding titles such as Maharajadi Raja, that means great king or lord of kings. Second is Tribhuvan Chakravarti, lord of three worlds. The king maintained his own army and also depended upon feudators, that is landlords, for troops and armaments at the time of war. The king was advised by the Council of Ministers, including the Foreign Minister, Storehouse in charge, Fort in charge, Commander of Army, and Royal Priest. Now, social life. If we talk about social life, women's position during those periods was very bad. Women were not treated equal like male. Many evil practices such as polygamy, where husband possesses more than one wife, sati, and child marriage. So all of these are the evil practices that was prevalent during those years. Economy means trade, business, money. When we talk about economy, during those years, the trading activity was flourishing around the world. So we can say that the new kingdoms were expanding their trade with Southeast Asia, China, Mediterranean, Western world. Indians were exporting textile, spices, precious metals like gold, and many more are there. So here we talked about economy. The rise of Rajput. The word Rajput is derived from Sanskrit word that is Rajputra, that means son of king. They believed themselves to be descendants of the sun god Suryavamsha, the moon god Chandravamsha, and ancient kings. Among all the Rajput kingdoms, the Chamanas or the Chauhans were the most prominent. The Chamanas, later known as Chauhan, who ruled over region around Delhi and Ajmer. The best known Chamana ruler was Prithviraj Chauhan, 1168 to 1192 AD. His great military achievements are being described in his book Prithviraj Raso. He bravely resisted the attack of Muhammad Ghori in the first battle of Tarain, 1191 AD. In this battle, he defeated Muhammad Ghori, but was defeated in the second battle of Tarain, 1192 AD. Prithviraj was executed by Muhammad Ghori. Historically, one of the most prominent rulers who invaded the Indian subcontinent was an Afghan ruler, Mahmud Ghazni. He ruled from 997 to 1030 AD. He invaded, raided, and looted India 17 times between 1000 to 1027 AD. His targets were wealthy temples, including Somnath Temple in Gujarat. Al-Biruni, who was the great Persian scholar of Mahmud Ghazni, who was also with Ghazni during his invasion in India. Al-Biruni wrote an account of Indian subcontinent in a book named Kitab-ul-Hind. He consulted Sanskrit scholars to prepare this book. Muhammad Ghori was from Kingdom of Ghor in northwest Afghanistan, that is Turkey area. he decided to conquer India and enrich his kingdom with India's wealth. In 1191 CE, Gauri attacked Prithviraj Chauhan, the Rajput ruler of Delhi and Ajmer. Prithviraj defeated Gauri in the Battle of Tarain. Gauri returned in 1192 CE and defeated Prithviraj Chauhan in the Second Battle of Tarain and captured the throne of Delhi. Muhammad Gauri annexed more Indian territory to his empire and returned to Gaur. After Muhammad Gauri returned to Gaur, his viceroys Qutb-ud-Din Aibak and Muhammad bin Bakhtiyar Khilji expanded the Gaur Empire. Now, let's talk about the impact of invasions, that is, Turco-Afghan invasions. Because of these Turco-Afghan invasions, many changes happened in the Indian culture. The religious culture prevailing in India at that time consists of idol worshipping and elaborated rituals. On the other hand, these Turco-Afghan invaders were the follower of Islamic culture. They brought the Islamic culture and the concept of a single formless God, that is Allah. The mixing of these two cultures and their traditions and customs comprises present day Indian culture. The Cholas of the South. The Cholas were the powerful ruling dynasty of South India during 1st and 3rd century. After going into decline for some centuries, the Cholas rose again in second half of the 9th century AD as one of the most brilliant dynasties of Indian history. For the next 400 years, the Cholas conquered over South India. The successors of the Vijayalayer conquered the neighboring region and the kingdom grew in size and power. Rajaraja Chola 985 to 1016 AD. He was the most powerful ruler of the Chola dynasty. He defeated Chalukyas of Kalyani, the Pandyans, the Cheras and the Vengis. He controlled the islands of the sea like Lakshadweep and Maldives. He introduced two important features of the Chola dynasty, that is, navy and local self-government. He was the founder of the powerful Chola navy. Rajaraja Chola I was a great builder. He constructed the beautiful Brihadeshwar temple dedicated to the Lord Shiva at Tanjore. Rajendra Chola 1014 to 1044 AD. Rajendra succeeded his father Rajaraja and took the Chola Empire to greater heights. He continued his policies and even raided the Ganga Valley, Sri Lanka and countries of Southeast Asia, developing navy for their expedition. He assumed the title of Gangaikonda and founded a new capital called Gangaikonda Cholapuram. Temples. The Cholas being great patron of art and architecture. The big temples of Tanjore and Gangaikonda Cholapuram built by Rajaraja and Rajendra are architectural and sculptural marvels. Features of temple architecture. Temples are in Dravidian style, South Indian style. The temples during this period emerged as a social, cultural and political institution. The village people assembling, people's meeting in the hall, everything was carried out. The temples were maintained by the donation that were given by the rulers and the merchants. Many cultural activities like music and dance also prospered in this temple. Bharatnatyam, a South Indian dance form, originated here. Amongst the craft associated with the temple, the making of the bronze sculpture were most distinctive art. Administrations. The Chola administration was highly organized. The king Rajaraja built up the Chola power with its clever administrative skills. The king was the head of the administration and ruled with the help of council of ministers. The Chola Empire was divided into mandalams, that means state, Velinadu, that is district. The large towns formed a separate unit called Thaniyur, as shown over here. The administration was carried out with the help of village assemblies such as Ur, Sabha and Nagaram. Ur was a common village assembly, Sabha was the assembly of men, and Nagaram consists of merchant, traders and artisans. Each village had treasury of its own and accounts were maintained systematically. Irrigation. Irrigation was given special attention. Tanks, wells, dam and artificial lakes were built to ensure ample water to the fields. Irrigation channels were built that carry water from river to the field. The main source of revenue were taxes from land and trade and booties from conquest. Booty means valuable stolen goods. Tax-free lands were granted to the Brahmins. Likewise, Chola dynasties were carrying out their empire. So, here we end with this chapter. Thank you.